So at the making of this video, the Denver Nuggets have played pretty well this season. As they're the 6th seed in their conference, they're well above 500, and this is with them missing 2 of their 3 best players. If you've been paying attention to recent reports that have come out, they have said that the Denver Nuggets are expecting Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. to be in the lineup around playoff time, which is absolutely huge news because Denver was already a playoff team, and with them adding back their 2nd and 3rd best player, it will truly help them reach that title contender level that we all thought they would be at. And that news has just led me to make this video where I'll be discussing why you should fear the Denver Nuggets going into the playoffs. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to show go over 3,000 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments. And play that intro. First reason you should fear the Denver Nuggets going forward is due to the fact that, as I said, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. should be back on this roster around the playoff starts. Obviously, those guys are going to have a huge impact on this team because the Nuggets have already been a pretty good team without those guys. But just imagine how good they're going to be when they're getting back some of their best players. I know some people are going to be like, oh, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are not going to return and play at their best because they're coming off of an injury. And I actually really agree with that. There is a high chance that Jamal Murray comes back and he's not going to be as good as he was before. Same with Michael Porter Jr. But regardless, I don't think getting those guys back is going to make the team any way worse. And if those guys can get back like 10 games before the playoffs starts and like 10 games before the season starts, maybe they can work themselves into shape and just be kind of like good starters in the league or something like that. And then as the playoff goes on, they can have some big time games and show flashes of their previous selves. And to be honest, if those guys came back and were like their usual selves, I generally think Denver is easily the 3rd best team in the Western Conference. And if you were to argue with me that they're the best team in the conference, I wouldn't even argue with you that much because they have Nikola Jokic, arguably the most unstoppable player in the league and the most impactful player in the league. And if you just give him 2 really good scorers who can create their own shot and hit contested shots, this team is nearly unguardable, especially when everyone knows how to play their role perfectly. If Murray and Porter Jr. ever go back to their old selves this season, this is a team that can really make the finals and a team that you should have nightmares over. Because if you have to guard a team with Jokic, then you have to worry about Murray being one of the best pick and roll ballers in the league and just being a really good shot creator, great shooter. Then you have to worry about Michael Porter Jr. being one of the best catch and shoot 3-point shooters in the NBA and a guy who can attack mismatches at a really good level. And just regardless, he's one of the most efficient scorers in the league. That's a really hard team to guard. So honestly, you should fear the Nuggets just because they couldn't be getting some of their best players when they were already one of the better teams in the tough Western Conference. The next reason you should fear the Denver Nuggets is just because of the simple fact that they have Nikola Jokic. If I'm being honest, Nikola Jokic has probably been the best player in the league this season when you look at the stats and stuff. No other player in the league has put up better numbers than him. When you look at the straight stats, he's putting up historic numbers on historical efficiency. In my opinion, he's been the best center in the league, and he's been the best player in general, in the regular season, especially when it comes to his impact. I promise you I'm not crazy because this guy is a legit superstar. Just having him on your team alone makes you a team that you should fear because he's just that impactful. Now when you realize the Nuggets have the perfect system, perfect type of players surrounding him, this is a really hard team to guard. And the thing about Nikola Jokic is that he's just the guy who you can't lock down. You're not really going to get much bad games out of him because even when you double team him, he's probably the best passer out of the double team in the NBA. So he's always going to find the open man. Jokic also might be the only superstar in the league not capable of having a negative game. Sure, Steph Curry can have like a negative game if he goes like 2 for 10 from 3, or Kevin Durant could just have a bad game where he's inefficient, missing a lot of shots, and LeBron could maybe have a bad game where he's inefficient, although that's really rare. LeBron doesn't really play bad often. But maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I should just say when, like, out of all the superstars, Nikola Jokic's worst games are the best, because even if Jokic isn't scoring that much, he's still grabbing a lot of rebounds, grabbing a lot of assists, and being a really good defender. And that's what makes him so impactful. The only other guy I could compare to like Jokic in terms of this is like Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But Jokic is definitely up there. He's just a superstar. I think we all know how good Jokic is, but you have to just give him his own section. He's that good. The next reason you should fear the Denver Nuggets is just because this is a team that simply is excellent on offense and defense. Because even without their second and third best player, Denver has ranked 8th in offensive rating and 11th in defensive rating. This is what I mean when I say Nikola Jokic is the most impactful player in the league. Because with a bunch of subpar talent on his team, he's basically leading his team to a top 10 offense and top 10 defense. I don't think any other player in the league is doing that, maybe besides Steph Curry or Giannis. But even Steph Curry, he's not going to lead you to a top 10 defense. He'll probably lead you to a top 10 offense. Giannis is the only guy who I think can do that. Maybe Joel Embiid, but he's not as good of a passer. But regardless, that's not the point. Denver is one of the best defenses and one of the best offenses in the league. They have a lot of versatile defenders. They play great as a unit. When it comes to offense, they have a bunch of shooters, a bunch of guys who can hit difficult shots, and they have Nikola Jokic, a top 3 offensive player in the league. Denver is going to be really scary on the offense when it comes to the playoffs. This is a really hard team to guard, because even if you want to double team Nikola Jokic, he's always going to find the open man, and it's not like the rest of the team is just spot up shooters. There's multiple guys who can like attack the basket, stuff like that. And if you don't double team Jokic, he's just gonna body your best defensive center for an easy bucket. This seems really hard to guard, bro, and that could be a huge problem in the playoffs. And when you add that in, that they're like really good on defense, like they're solid, that's a really good team. And honestly, when they're healthy, I actually think they're the best offense in the league, because they're just way too hard to guard. To conclude the video, the Denver Nuggets fully healthy are probably the second best team in the Western Conference. Could argue they're best. And when you have Nikola Jokic, the best player in the league, and a bunch of really good role players and like 2 all-star level guys surrounding him and a lot of shooters, that's a nearly impossible offense to stop. Honestly, I don't even know how you stop that. I don't know what team in the league can stop that. And on top of that, they have really good defenders like Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, Jamal Murray, and some other guys. That's a really hard team to beat. I don't think there's much teams in the West that can beat them, or just teams in the league in general could beat them. They don't really have a huge weakness. So if I'm being honest, the fully healthy Nuggets should be giving you absolutely nightmares, because they are giving me nightmares. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think the Denver Nuggets are like gonna win the championship if they're fully healthy. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to reach my goal of 3,000 subscribers, also drop a comment on this video, because I do respond to all of my comments. Play that intro.